lecturer. He's the founder of Conscious Planet and Living Harvest and Hempco. And I guess his story, he's probably going to tell you a bit of it today, but he overcame debilitating allergies, digestive disorders, IBS, and ulcerated colon, and he basically healed himself so he didn't have to have a colostomy. And then he met his partner, Wind, a few years later, and together they helped her get over breast cancer. So he's really, this is a person who knows what he's talking about. He's been there, he's gone through the healing, he's gone on that healer's journey. And he is going to talk to us about how, when we are dealing with these challenges in our bodies, where do they come from? And so his talk, and how do you heal them? So his talk is very aptly titled, The Cause and Removal of Disease. So I invite you all to, first off, let's get a really lot of noise going for Charles Holmes.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you, Elias, for that wonderful intro. Now I have to really live up to that, don't I? There's, be well and alive. What else do you need to say? You know, we're here on this journey for only a short time, and why not have it healthy? I'm going to do my best to share with you today what I see as the cause and removal of disease in about 20 or 30 minutes. Of course, it's really a big subject. Ultimately, in my opinion, it's quite simple, though. So I and my wife and I, obviously we've gone through a journey that got us to the point where not only to get some results for ourselves, but we desired to share that with others, and Conscious Planet became that vehicle. And about 8-9 years ago, we launched a series of products and information to help people get the results that we got. And our ultimate goal is to help you, oops, sorry, let me go back one. Oh, that was right. Necessity is the mother of invention. All of us have challenges in our lives. But it's coming through those challenges that we create that wisdom and that experience that helps us to be able to share that with others. And a quote that helped me to understand and get through this was, optimal health is achieved by removing the vibrational cause of disease instead of the medical treatment of symptoms. As Elias was referring, I made a decision when I was about 25 years old after seeing a doctor when he said that ultimately I would have to have an operation to overcome the symptoms I was experiencing. I said no. And I've not seen a doctor in 25 years. I don't recommend everybody do that. However, I made that choice, and it was one of the scariest decisions of my life. But it helped me to take responsibility for my health, and what that looked like was a ton of research and going through a lot of misinformation and meeting a lot of amazing people over this journey in 25 years. One of them was my wife. And about 20 years ago, she had developed breast cancer. And with those stressors in her life, we applied ourselves the same way as I did, with really just changing our food program, learning how to detox and cleanse, learning how to take care of our overambitious minds and try to get a little bit more control on being present in the moment and feeling better. And that resulted in us, again, starting what we call Conscious Planet. And these simple books here, if you've never had a chance to read Conscious Kitchen, Wynn's book is an amazing repertoire of recipes based on what we call a pro-train diet. So my goal here is to help you feel better, help you perform better, and play better than ever before. Anybody would like to look like this in their 70s? I had a chance to meet one of these ladies one time at a festival in the States. And she's over 70 years old. And that's simply just by, changing lifestyles, how their food program is mostly raw food. Just like a car, guys, better fuel and maintenance equals better fuel performance. We all know this. We all take better care of our cars typically than our bodies. Healthy eating makes a difference. Drinking water makes a difference. Exercise makes a difference. We all know this. And doing so, we will live longer, happier, and healthier lives. But do we do it? Or are you spending all your money and time buying back the time you gave up making it? There's a lot of baby boomers that are finding this challenge now after 30, 40 years of doing well out there in the business world. All of a sudden they gave up their health getting it. There are more hospitals, there are more treatments and technology and drugs than ever before. Ultimately, is that the solution? Here's a great cartoon. Do you know anyone?
They heard you
do you know anyone that's experiencing this? I'll read this out. The top prescription is for your arthritis. Of course, there's a conversation between a doctor and his patient. It may cause a heart attack. The second prescription should prevent a heart attack, but it could damage your liver. The third should prevent liver trouble, but it may destroy your spleen. The fourth protects the spleen but has been known to eat away the prostate. Now, for every guy, that's a very exciting conversation. But we laugh. But this is happening around us all the time, guys. And I don't know about you, but I had grandparents that went through this process in their death process, and they spent 5 to 8 years. They didn't even know their name. And they were in diapers. In my opinion, that's not quality of life. Another cartoon, Health Canada. I don't know if you've had any dealings with Health Canada, genetically altered foods, and the way they protect big pharma and tobacco companies and alcohol and energy drinks and things like that, and how they're putting constraints on healthy foods and supplements. Are you getting the health results you expect and deserve? There is an endless supply of information. There's lots of good intentions. There's also plenty of misinformation, as I found as I went through this journey. And who do you trust? Statistics are, in 1900, 1 in 30 people developed cancer. Now it's about 1 in 2. In 1900, 1 in 25 children were born with autism or autistic. 1 in 50 now is born with autism. Any ideas why? One of the biggest challenges is vaccinations. The average doctor dies at 57. Looks like the PowerPoint's going off a little bit. Statistics, $14 million is spent average every minute on healthcare in the United States. 50% of that is spent in the last 5 years of life. 90% is spent in the last 30 days of life. Yeah, medical treatment and meds are the second largest killer of people in the United States. The average American consumes 100 pounds of refined sugar, a wheelbarrow load every year. 2/3 of Americans are overweight and obese. The number one killer of Americans, I'm sad to say, is the standard American diet. We don't realize how much energy we put into the food that we consume and how much it's taken away from our life experience. In my opinion, standards have changed. Big time. Since I was a child. I mean, it's a choice. And ultimately, without education, it's hard to make that choice. I did make that choice. I chose a natural path over cut, poison, and burn. And my goal is to help you make that choice as well, to have the results that I received. Healthcare or sick treatment is a massive difference, guys. Albert Einstein said it well, you can't expect a different outcome with the same thinking. Few are those who see with their own eyes and feel with their own hearts. I found that was one of the biggest challenges for me. I was a very heady person. And to actually feel anything, I didn't want to do that. I would do everything I could to create an adrenaline rush and not experience life and feel what was going on. You confuse food with nutrition. Now, I don't know about you, if you've ever been in a hospital place like that, they teach you the 4 main food groups as a balanced meal. So they look at this because it has 4 main food groups as a balanced meal. Now, it's laughable for most of us now. But that's where these people are at. So you've got to understand where we've come from. So are you programmed for success? This is a couple old ads from the 50s I pulled. One was, this is about doctors. Say, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. We are confused and conditioned consumers, guys. We don't realize how much we're programmed. For a better start in life, start cola earlier.
God.
What? No. Wait, I'm going to read the fine print to you. This is even worse. Watch this. For a better start in life, start cola earlier. Now, so how soon is too soon? Not soon enough. Laboratory tests over the last few years have proven that babies who start drinking soda during that early formative period have a much higher chance of gaining acceptance and fitting in during those awkward preteen and teen years. So do yourself a favor, do your child a favor. Start them on a strict regimen of sodas and other, I'll go back here, carbonated beverages right now for a lifetime of guaranteed happiness. This is how your parents were programmed.
Oh my God.
Now that wasn't a real ad.
Yes, it was.
That was a real ad.
Life can be stressful, guys. I can appreciate it. At least we're laughing about it now. But there's pollution stress. There's EMF stress. Anybody know what this is? These are high tension wires. Somebody just took a whole bunch of light bulbs, stuck them in the ground, and they lit up. That's how much stress is around. It's just with electrical generation in our fields. Food and drug stress. When I was young, I did not see people like kids like this. It never happened 50 years ago, 40 years ago. There's also cooked food stress, guys. Anybody here ever heard of leukocytosis? When we eat cooked food, it creates a stressor in our system that raises your white blood cell count just the same as if you got poisoned. No difference. The body produces this adrenaline into a fight or flight pattern. Extremities start to get warm. By the way, if I get too cold, I just have a piece of toast. I heat up right away. If I have a whole cooked food meal, I usually don't sleep that night. I'm tossed and turned. I'm sweating all over the place now because my body reacts so much to this. But I never noticed it before. The energy gets pulled away from the digestive processes. Your cells start to produce histamines, and we starve. We literally are numbing out. Now, like I said earlier, I mean, all of us, life is not that easy. And the bottom line is, we're doing things to comfort ourselves all the time. And whether it's too much sex, too much running around the block, or too much exercise, too much cooked food, too much meds, or hard drugs, it's all different levels of addictions. And this, in my opinion, must be addressed. That's why I'm so excited about what Elias has done this weekend. Present different facets of what we need to look at in our lives to get that balance. Food is just one portion of this. This really helped me understand what I was doing in my body. Now, unlike a car, when you run out of gas, you can put more gas in it and the car will keep running typically, and you fix it once in a while, it's okay. Well, your body has this amazing capacity to steal from itself to survive. Stress equals deficiency equals disease. What is the main element of the body is stealing from itself to survive when you're experiencing wrinkles? Now, we know the body is mostly made of water, right? If you've got a bunch of wrinkles, what's happening? What's your skin mostly made of? Besides dehydration. Your skin's mostly made of collagen protein. So if you are protein deficient, your body's going to start stealing it from itself to survive. Make sense? What about this? What if you're experiencing allergies? Anybody here experiencing allergies? What's your body mostly stealing from itself when you're experiencing allergies?
Enzymes.
It's enzymes. What about arthritis and osteoporosis? What's your body mostly stealing from itself when you start experiencing that?
Calcium.
Minerals, right? Start to make sense, guys? Your body has this amazing capacity to take care of itself, but it doesn't have the resources. What can it do? It must steal. What about nervous disorders and brain dysfunctions? What's your brain mostly made of? Fat. Your nervous system is all coated with fats. Could it be that simple that if you put these things back in your body, the body starts doing what it needs to do? In my opinion, yes. Here's a great example of someone within our community who had a really bad goiter tumor on his neck. And they were giving him, options of operations and chemotherapy and all those kind of things. He tried a little bit of it, and he got so sick he decided not to do that and went the natural way. And after a few months, it was all gone. Can't tell it happened. The body started to take care of itself. A tumor, in my opinion, is a warehouse of dirt, of toxins the body puts together because it's protecting you. But if it has enough energy, it'll remove the dirt on its own. We've all heard of people who've had tumors, all of a sudden they go away. Well, what happens? Here's a really great example of the capacity of the human body if it's given an environment and the tools to do what it needs to do. Dr. Henry Turkle proved this to us in the 1940s, guys. This is over 60, 70 years ago. This is a lady named Evelyn of one of his studies that he did, and she was experiencing Down syndrome. He did this with lots of Down syndrome patients, like hundreds. This is 1952. She's 3'4" tall. And of applying her two main things, learning how to cleanse. People who are experiencing Downs have genetic coding that's turned off that's operating in their bowels typically. Their large intestine's not working properly, so it gets filled up. Some people who are experiencing Downs have 10, 20, 30 pounds of fecal matter stuck in their intestinal tract. So he started cleaning them out and feeding them simple nutrients that are missing out of his blood package that he did on them. It was really a really basic program. Is there any difference in this woman in the next 10 years? Now we're told two things. She's 22 here. We're told two things. You got a genetic package, write it out, it's not going to change, right? And you especially don't change as an adult. She grew to 5'9" in 10 years after applying this program to her, and no more Down syndrome. Now I don't know about you, but I was not told that in kindergarten. That concerns me. And ultimately, as I started to look at this more and more, we have a real challenge with our food chain. And even though I would choose organic foods over everything else, I realized I don't know the quality of the soil it came from. And I had to start looking at putting concentrates together in my life to feed myself. There's a massive nutrient deficiency problem with our soil in our food growing world, and you've got to overcome this. We know we must supplement. The challenge is when you go to a health food store, are you eating minerals that are ground up and put in the form your body can't access? For instance, you could have a mineral complex that has magnesium stearate in it as a preservative and help a flow agent. That means you can't get access to those nutrients now, right? Or are you really getting the spinach you need and all those things in it? So you have to find that balance. It's not that easy. In my opinion, there is no magic pill. I search for the magic pill. I'm very lazy. I wanted to have a magic pill, and I thought you eat a handful of vitamins and eat more is better, right? So that's what I did until I got so toxic, I had to really start cleaning up. I believe you have to have superfood concentrates. I'm very biased about hemp seed foods. Do your best to start getting these essential nutrients back in your body. What does essential mean? It means your body doesn't make it. It's got to get it from the food chain. Hemp is packed full of essential nutrients. The Conscious Planet program as well. What makes it superior? We base it on a pro-terrain alkalizing program. We call it CORE, and it's got lots of training support in there that you can help take stuff in your daily lives and put into a program for yourselves to get results. Especially it helps overcome addictions and raises consciousness. Anybody here have a challenge making decisions sometimes? Mm-hmm. Anybody here ever made a decision that caused you pain? Mm-hmm. Stop doing that. Again, the critical factor, again, as I see it, is putting together these concentrates to overcome soil depletion, but yet get access to the nutrients. And doing it in an easy way to follow, I don't know about you, but there's so many different things going on out there, it's complex. We call it a pro-terrain nutritional program. Energize plus eliminate plus replenish plus balance equals wellness. We call it the 4 pillars. And it's an ancient Taoist slogan, how they looked at life. Again, we call it CORE. If you've never seen a pH chart, I highly recommend you use this as your base to help get your results. Because most of us, we're taught that science is the bottom line. So in using this chart, ideally, the human blood should be at 7.365. If it goes off this by more than 0.2 points on this chart, you die. Everything up to 7 is acidic, everything over 7 is alkaline. So we're just slightly alkaline. In a comparison, a dog and a horse are about 6 or 6.5 on this scale in their blood pH. A cat's about 5, 5.5. Okay? So as we keep putting stressors in our body, the pH starts to come down. Once it gets about 6.8, we start to see disease symptoms show up. Getting stiff and sore, arthritis, stuff like that. Allergies start to show up. But something miraculous starts to happen. Your body gets this signal, it wants to die. And it starts a composting process. It's called a pleomorphic process. Your own cells in your body start to shift. And as it starts to do that, I'll explain that more in a second, cancer cells start to develop when your overall pH is about 5.8. So again, this is a great model to use as a measuring stick. Dr. Alexis Carrel referred to this in his work, which he did more than 100 years ago. The cell is immortal. This is a quote by him. He said, "The cell is immortal. It is merely the fluid in which it floats which degenerates. Renew this fluid at intervals, give the cells what they require for nutrition, and as far as we know it, the pulsation of life may go on forever." That's a pretty bold statement. What did he do? He took the cell of a chicken heart, put it into a petri dish, and kept it alive for 28 years before he told anybody. Now the average chicken only lives how long? 7 years. So when he told everybody, it was like, huh? How's that possible? Well, in fact, that experiment went on for another 5 or 6 years before he actually died and didn't practice what he was preaching. But he created this environment in that petri dish that cell would not die. Got just the right amount of food, just the right amount of waste taken out all the time. It did fine. What if we did that? What would life be like? Everybody remember Louis Pasteur? What did he teach us? He said, cook all your food, pasteurize everything, and you'll protect yourself from all those little bugs out there. What did he say on his deathbed? The germ is nothing, the terrain is everything. He said, I lied. I was confused. You should talk to my friend here, Dr. Antoine Béchamp. They worked in the same facility. One guy worked at one end, one guy worked at the other end. This guy looked through a microscope for 60 years to prove the pleomorphic process. If you have a chance to study him, I highly recommend you do that. The man who has carried on this work is Dr. Gabriel Cousens at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center in Patagonia, Arizona. So when your pH hits 5.8, our own proteins in our body called microzymas, protids, somatids, they begin to morbidly mutate. Your own cells start to change into what? Fungus, yeast, molds, viruses, and finally cancer cells. It's a composting process, guys. We're rotting. Everything in nature is doing it all the time, right? We just don't think that it would happen to us. So the goal is, don't compost before you die. We're all going to get t-shirts, it's just to remind us, right? So no composting before we kick. So who's in control of your destiny? When I saw this, it really helped hit home for what this really means. The National Institutes of Health estimate 90% of the cells in the human body are non-human. Now you told you have, 70 to 100 trillion cells in your body. 90% of those cells are not yours. Whose are they? Turns out there's a whole bunch of bacteria and funguses and viruses and parasites and worms and things living in your body off of your resources. Now, how can you possibly think straight if these creatures are in there? That's why we call it a pro-train eating program. Eating so that you're not feeding these creatures and you're changing the environment, just like Dr. Alexis Carroll did with that Petri dish. What's the average level of consciousness of these creatures living in your body? What's their thought forms all day long? Think about it. Anyone ever have thoughts of survival, lack, just procreating for some sort of eating dead or rotting material? That's what these things do. They're feeding off your dying tissue and all the things you eat that aren't digesting properly. Every time you eat like that, every time you think like that and create that environment, they thrive. Anybody ever felt a little crazy around a full moon?
Crazy right now.
That's when they make a lot of babies, around full moons. Yeah. Another great example of how to overcome and express our genes to our perfection is the work done by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Now, he was a cell cloner, human cell cloner, for a long time before he wrote any books. So he tells you, when they say they only made clones of sheep, that's not true. So he referred to this in his book called The Biology of Belief, which was a fantastic read if you have not had a chance to see that. He explained your thoughts, the environment you create, not just food, everything that's going on in your environment, which is what Elias and the team have created here for you to see an experience of what facets of your life you can look at to create that optimal environment to get these results. But your genes will express themselves the way they need to if you create that environment. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Krishnamurti. Within you is an original blueprint to be healthy and free of disease, to look and stay young, to be aware of who you are and why you are here. Anybody ever asked that question? I do every day. To manifest your desires with ease and grace, and to have and share abundance. So let Conscious Planet help you unleash your secret code for success within. Welcome home to the new you. There are many paths to the top of the mountain. There is only one peak. Get ready for your peak experience. Conscious Planet. Thank you so much for your time.